Welcome to the Legal CFO.
Hello and welcome to the show where clarity meets profitability. This is the Legal CFO with Ryan Kimler, the founder of Net Profit CFO. If you're a law firm owner looking to get a handle on your finances, grow your bottom line, and finally take control of your numbers, you are in the right place, because each episode, Ryan's going to break down the business side of law with straightforward strategies to help your firm run smarter, earn more, and scale with confidence. My name is Kevin Rosenquist. Today, we're going to do an Exit Strategy 101. When and how to prepare your law firm for sale or succession. Ryan, good to see you.
Yes, thank you for having me, and very excited to dive into this today.
Yeah, definitely an interesting topic. It's a good thing in a lot of ways because you've built something that's able to be sold or it's going to pass on. So that's a good problem to have in a lot of ways, but a very confusing thing as well. So why should law firm owners build an exit strategy into their long-term business plan? Why should they plan that in advance?
Sure. So exit is going to happen one way or the other, no matter what, whether it's planned or whether it's forced, right? Some law firms, if you're at a partnership, some of them put in their bylaws that, they put a certain age that, by like 68 or by 70, they pick an age and they're like, the partners have to be bought out and they have to exit, obviously for, sometimes cognitive purposes, right? Like, as we get older, obviously we decline sometimes. So again, no matter
Not
what,
us. Yeah, not us.
not us. I'm not there yet, but no matter what situation you're in, right? Exit's going to happen,
Right.
Either way. And so it's something to prepare for.
Is there a difference between preparing for sale versus planning for succession?
Yes. Sale, obviously you're going external, right? And I think you really have to be able to show that the business is going to continue without you, isn't dependent on you.
That's a good point.
With succession, you're setting up the firm to continue to go with the people that you already have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And could, if you're doing like an internal buyout, the people that are stepping up to do the buyout, obviously are going to take it over. And they don't have doubts that they're going to continue it, right? That's why they're buying in and doing it. And so two completely separate processes. Yes, very, very different.
If you want to maximize value, which you obviously do, how far in advance should you start preparing for an exit? Months, years? What do you generally recommend, or does it depend?
I recommend years. The sooner the better. Just if you are going to exit and you're going to sell, just the sales process alone, to have a buyer come in, be able to do due diligence, look at the business, look at its client base, look at the numbers, right? Just the sale, and then also probably have them put together funding, things like that. Just the sales process alone could easily take 6 months from start to close. Mm-hmm. So we're talking half a year just to make the transaction itself happen, right? Let alone all the other moving pieces and parts. So years for sure. I always talk with my clients from the very beginning, what are your goals here? What does exit look like? What's the end place that we're trying to get to? Because I think if you start thinking that way sooner, the better off you're going to be.
But there's got to be a too soon to some degree too, right? Because if you don't really know where your firm is heading necessarily, how much you're going to scale and all that, is that just kind of what you're saying? It has to be part of an overall plan.
Yeah, and it depends on what your vision is as an owner. Perhaps, maybe you're putting money away for retirement, and maybe you're a solo attorney and you've got a paralegal that works for you, and I don't know, maybe somebody at the front desk to answer phones and things like that, and maybe that's all the bigger you ever want to be. And when you decide to retire, you're just going to be done and close shop. Mm-hmm. That happens. I still think though, even if you're not selling or there's no succession to the next person, you still have a client base that knows you, that you've worked with. Where does that business go, right? If you're closing your doors and you're not going to practice anymore, again, where does that business go? And having a plan for that, I think, can have its advantages. And not just from a monetary standpoint, right? Like, am I going to get referrals for the clients that I send on? Not just that, but also just to contribute and, kind of continue to service the clients that you've had that you're no longer servicing. So I think it depends on what your vision is, but I don't think there's a too early time to start. It should be, you should start thinking about it. It should be in the plan. Sure, maybe you don't know how big the business is going to get. Maybe one day you get to a $30 million law firm and you never expected that. But at least if you're planning along the way, you can see the stages that you're getting to and hitting and plan accordingly.
When it comes to making a firm more attractive to a potential buyer, what financial indicators will make that more intriguing for a buyer?
A lot of times when you're doing due diligence on a firm, you're not just looking at the last year, right? And so I think that's important to remember too, is that it's, whoever's coming in, if they're really doing their job with doing due diligence, they're going to look at the last handful of years. So you've really got to have several years put together where your business performance is really good. A couple of common metrics that get looked at are seller's discretionary earnings. So basically, as the owner, what is the benefit to me of owning the business? So if you can grow that number by growing profits, growing what you're taking out of the business, if you have kind of like expenses and benefits on the business, for example, let's say you lease a car and you're writing off the car payments, that would be a seller's benefit as well, or a owner's benefit as well. That would go into seller's discretionary earnings. Again, if you can grow that number, right? Obviously, a law firm that produces $300,000 for an owner is not as attractive as one that produces 1 million, right? So if you can grow that number, that makes a big difference. And then the other one that is commonly looked at is EBITDA, and that's looked at across all industries, but that's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So same kind of thing, we're looking at earnings and profits, right? And there's some adjustments that happen to get down to that number. But if you can grow your business, grow your profits, again, a business that profits $300,000 versus one that profits $1 million, obviously, there's other factors, but just from the financial standpoint, we know which one would be more expensive, right? So doing those things, really, really important. And again, this is why having a handle on your numbers is super important. Having dashboards, having controls, and just always working on making your business more efficient.
Yeah, because then you're not doing a mad scramble in the last months or years before you want to sell. I mean, you've got a good picture. It's already in place.
For sure.
Go back and listen to our financial dashboard episode if you haven't.
For sure. Yes.
Okay, so beyond the financials, what operational factors can increase the value of a firm?
Owner dependency is one of the biggest things that I would turn to. How dependent is the revenue of the business that's generated, but also then the profits of the business on you as the owner with what you're doing, right? A really good test for this, how many weeks of vacation are you taking a year, right? And how does the business do when you're away? Obviously, a law firm that is not dependent on the current owner heavily would be way more attractive than one that is, right? If you're the driving machine behind, maybe it's behind generating the majority of the cases, right? I just got off the phone with a lawyer that 90% of the work that comes through the firm is generated by the owner, right? What happens when that owner goes away? So, and sometimes the owner stays, for a period to kind of transition things. Sometimes they really want to exit and leave, right? So dependency on owner, huge. Having processes in place and also team members that you've brought along and kind of really prepared them to replace you, right? If you can replace yourself and decrease the dependency that's on you, you're going to increase value.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting thought, the replacement thing. Yeah. So do you find that businesses will try to increase profitability in the years before an exit to help that either sale price or transition?
For sure. If you're, if you're 3-4 years away from exit, starting to work on those things, yes,
Making a hard
absolutely.
push.
Yep, absolutely, that happens. And no matter what, we business buyers know, right? Everybody's job come tax time is to pay as little as possible, right? Make as much as you can and pay as little as possible. And so
Mm-hmm.
anytime they're looking at the numbers, those kind of things are going to be added back, right? Those kind of adjustments are going to be made so that even as an owner, you're not penalized for trying to reduce your tax bill.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yes, absolutely. The handful of years before you sell, definitely there are efforts to grow the business, grow profits, make it more efficient, do things better, for sure.
What kind of problems have you seen come up when a law firm or when a law firm owner waits too long to start that exit planning?
Yeah. Just so, first of all, not having enough time to really get it ready,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not having enough time to get processes in place, get people trained, build talent. Because I mean, that definitely takes time, right? If you want somebody in your law firm, I mean, unless you're going to go out and hire someone externally that's already doing it, if you want someone in your law firm that can really be a rainmaker and really generate business, that takes time to develop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so just not having enough time to get it all done. And, then what kind of ends up happening is, you might have set a number that you wanted your business to be worth when you exited, and maybe you needed that number for retirement. And if you wait too late and you don't get it to that number, you're going to have a gap, right? Like let's say you wanted to exit and sell for, 2 million, and the time comes and you're a year and a half away and you're really only worth 1, right? Obviously that creates a big gap there. And so, again, if you're short on time, what do you do with that gap, right? How do you close that gap? Can you close that gap
Right.
even,
Yeah.
right? And so, again, waiting to the last minute can really hit you hard, right? I mean, just in that scenario, I mean, 1 million to 2 million, where maybe if you had an extra 2 or 3 years, you could do things to get the valuation closer to 1 million, right? So, you could leave thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table for waiting too long, being too late.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because if you don't have a lot of time, I mean, trying to make up $1 million gap is, that could be very easy to do in any industry. I mean, seriously.
For sure. And I think, again, I just threw those out. I mean, those are just ballpark numbers,
Sure. Yeah.
um, but yeah, that's the biggest thing. And the other thing that I would say too is you can also, um, be in a situation where, again, maybe you need a number for retirement, and maybe you haven't set the business up well where you can take vacations and it's not dependent on you. And you could be, you could be the other extreme where it is like almost 100% dependent on you. And then the business is almost worth 0,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because, depending on what type of law you're in, maybe you have repeat clients, maybe you don't. But so maybe you have a book of business there, maybe you don't. But if the business is almost 100% dependent on you and the value's near 0, and you are banking on it for retirement, and you don't have a retirement set up, you could be really stuck, right? And I think that's a piece that, from my experience, a lot of lawyers and business owners really do miss as they're growing their business. Like, they pump so much money back into the business, right, to invest, and investing for themselves in retirement is a piece that I've seen just get missed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not accumulating enough money along the way. And then you end up really, really stuck.
So, how about this for anybody who might be listening now and you're scaring the hell out of them with all the stuff that you're saying? Like, what should they do? What's a good place to start?
Good place to start, I would say, number one, don't rely on exit for retirement. Have plans outside of that. If you can have a business exit and sell value, by all means, that just adds to it, and that's great. So that's number one. Number two is start planning. Right now, we're recording this here in October. Right, October, November, December timeframe. You should be planning for your law firm anyway. What did I do this year? What do I want to do next year? Where am I going? What if we got to the end of the year, December 31st, 2026, what would really make me happy?
Mm-hmm.
I work with my clients on that really from a financial standpoint, but start having that financial plan and also incorporating the exit plan into it as well, or the transition plan. It could be a succession plan, the transition plan as well, right? Start thinking about that. How am I going to end or leave this business, right? Just get started. If you haven't thought about it, just get started. And then I would say really map out your timeline, right? I'm just going to throw out round numbers. If you're 50 today and you want to retire by 70, obviously you got 20 years. What does that timeline look like, right? And really map out how long you have or how long you believe you have. Obviously, things can come up, right?
Sure.
But how long you believe you have, and really put a timeline together. Those would be my next steps that I would start looking at. And if you're, 5 years away from exit, really, really better start getting busy, right? That's the kind of time frame that, things really, really need to pick up and start working on it.
Is it almost part of a retirement plan or a wealth planning strategy overall?
Yeah, I would say so. Right. Because when you get there, what do the payments look like? What kind of time frame? How much money? How are you going to reduce taxes if you are getting a big lump sum all at once? All of those kind of things are definitely really important that you need some, maybe a financial advisor in your corner, or I'll say a retirement advisor. If I say financial advisor, people, there's a box that people think of, right? I'm not saying it has to be a financial advisor that has their CFP. I'm not saying that. Someone that you trust with your retirement is the important thing, I think, that should be involved. Maybe they have their CFP, maybe they don't, but someone that you really trust to handle the finances or work with you to handle the finances and set you up for a successful retirement should definitely be involved.
I think that's great advice. All right. Well, thanks for watching The Legal CFO with Ryan Kimler. If you're ready to get financial clarity for your law firm, visit netprofitcfo.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave us a review. We very much appreciate it. Ryan, always good to see you. Thanks so much for this chat.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.